All right, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing something that relatively is something that impacts all of us, and that is having emotional authority. Why? Because over 50% of humanity has their solar plexus defined. And because you have your solar plexus defined, that means that you have emotional authority. So I'm gonna go through some scenarios and I'm gonna go through some tips into how to best handle that emotional wave. I know there's also a lot of videos on YouTube talking about emotional authority. You guys can go check those out, but this specific video is gonna be about scenarios that have impacted me rather relatively. So before we get started, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and also give this video a thumbs up, and let's get started. So I wanted to preface this with the fact that all of the scenarios that I am about to give have been real life scenarios, and they have happened to people very close to me. So I will use examples of, I can either say person 1, person 2, person 3, person A, B, or C. You guys get the point. This is to show you guys how when you have emotional authority, there is no truth in the now. Because basically you have to write out this emotional wave. You will have very highs and you will have very lows. And you need to come to a point of neutrality in order for you to make a decision. And that is something that's very hard today because people expect you to make a decision right then and there. And that is just simply not the case for the people who have emotional authority. And what happens when you're riding that emotional wave? You will be hit with very high emotions, very low depressing emotions. You will go through a wave. And the thing is, because some people just don't know that they have emotional authority, they are reacting to whatever they are feeling in the wave, whether it's a very high or a very low. And because they're not coming to a point of neutrality, they are reacting. And I think we can all say we have been through that, especially when you have your solar plexus defined. I know personally in the past, before I discovered human design and before experimenting with my authority, which is this emotional authority, I was reacting to my very high emotions in the moment, my very gut-wrenching emotions. And then I also felt like, well, screw this, I don't want to talk to you. Like, I was feeling very low and I didn't want to talk. Like, we have all been through this. This specific scenario happened to me, and it involved family. And I am going to use person A, B, C. There's 3 people in this. And I'm going to give you what I went through and how I literally had to. It's very hard when someone else's emotional high is coming at you, attacking you. So let's get into the scenario. So person A is feeling very down. This person A, also has emotional authority. And they are riding their wave, and they are at a point in their wave where emotions are just very low. They're feeling very sad, lonely, whatever it is that you want to call it. Person B calls person A just to make sure how they are, how things are going. And person A, who is down on their emotional wave, feeling down on their emotional wave, tells person B about it. Person B is also an emotional being. They have a solar plexus defined. So now person A has put that wave out there, that wave of them feeling very, very low. And because they transmitted that to person B now is at an emotional high, reacted to person A very depressing feelings. And person B thinks that person C is the cause of person A very emotional low. So what does person B do? Person B gets on their phone, texts, calls, voice notes, whatever you want to call it, and goes off on person C. Goes off on person C because person B feels that person A is feeling like this because of person C. So person B decides to go off in a rage of emotions and a very, very emotional high, decides to go off on person C. Without even giving person C a greeting or saying, how are you, just completely goes off. And what do we have here? We have a conflict now. Person C is out here taking out completely out of guard, no idea what is going on. Person C is just minding their business, doesn't know what's happening, and person B just keeps going off on them because they think that person C hurt person A's feelings. Because person C is self-aware, they decide not to take it personal. Now that enrages person B more because person B thinks that person C does not care. And they just keep going and going and going and going at them to the point that it kind of starts pissing off person C a little bit. And now they're going to get into it with person B. And now this cycle of emotions is at a very, very emotional high where emotions are running rampant. They're running high. It's literally like, have you guys seen Inside Out? It's like anger is running all over the place. Okay? And it's not good. It's not good at all. And eventually, person C realizes that this conversation or that conversation is just not worth it. Person C is very aware of their mechanics. Person C is very aware of their energy. They know that they have an open heart center. They know that they don't have to prove themselves to anybody. However, person B does have the heart center defined. So they will prove their point to their last breath. They have to have the last word. Person A is finally okay. After days of these emotions running high, the person who was feeling their lowest is now at a very neutral point. They're okay now. So, but now person B and C were still they were still kind of going at it. Person C is slowly backing away, but person B is still on that emotional high. And then after a few hours later, or probably a day later, things start to cool down. Person C is already withdrawn, detached from the situation. Person B is now apologizing for letting their emotions run high, is now apologizing. And this all started because person B reacted to the very low emotions of person A, who is now fine, who is now okay, who is now like, oh, well, it wasn't even, I'm okay now, like I'm fine. Like it wasn't that serious. But person B took it very, very serious and ran with that emotional high and essentially verbally attacked person C. That's scenario one. So you see how these emotions, when you are riding that emotional wave, you have to come to a point of neutrality in order for you to assess your emotions, in order for you to ride out that wave. You are going to feel very high emotions in that wave and very low emotions in that wave. And the wave is still riding itself out. And you have to let it ride itself out. You cannot have a reaction or go ahead and make the decision to attack somebody else because you're on a very emotional high. So, Scenario number 2 is at the workplace. So, in this workplace, there are managers. It's a huge company, and there are managers to certain departments. So, let's say you have your general manager of the whole place. Then you have your manager of a specific unit. And then you have said supervisor of a unit. So let's go once again. We're going to use person A, B, and C. So person A is the supervisor of a specific unit within a company. Person B is the general manager of the whole building, the whole place, the general manager. Person C is the manager of a specific unit. Okay, so let's go through this scenario. So, person A, the supervisor, is doing their job, and person B, the general manager, asks them what they're doing. And who knows what type of emotional, if anything is happening with person B. But person B, the general manager, says something not very nice to person A, the supervisor. Something where person A feels insulted by what person B has told them. To the point that it literally shook them so much that they cry about it. They literally shed tears because the general manager has said something that really hurt person A. And basically, because person A took that very, very personally, they leave the job. They leave the job and let the other employees deal with the work for that day. So person A leaves. And person B finds out from another employee that person A is crying and feels very, very bad about it. So what does person B does? Person B is the manager of the unit where person A, the supervisor, is the supervisor of. So what does person C do? Person C, the manager, who hears about person A's emotions, decides to go off on person B, the general manager. To the point now where there is chaos erupting in the workplace. And I mean chaos because person C has now enacted a plan that now the supervisors and the managers of that specific unit are not going to go to work. It's like a little protest at the workplace because of person B's comments to person A. Basically, now employees are running with they're like headless chickens, running around not knowing what to do because now their manager and supervisor decided not to come to work in protest of person B's comments to person A. It's chaos. Absolute chaos. The work is not getting done. The employees don't know what to do. And there's just chaos. And person B, the person who made the rude comments to person A, apologizes. Person A, now having let that emotional wave come to a point of clarity, of neutrality, now doesn't see the point in protesting, now doesn't see the point of the efforts of person C trying to protest on their behalf. Now person C feels like, well, I did all this work for nothing. I literally wanted to protest person B's actions because this is not the first time that person B says insulting or very negative things to other employees. It's not the first time, according to person C. So person C wanted to teach person B a lesson based on the gut reactions of person A. And there was chaos erupting in the workplace because the employees didn't know what to do. So this little protest, at the end of the day, person A is like, well, I don't see the point of, we did this wrong. Like, we should just, I didn't see the point. Person B has apologized. Person A is not okay. And now person C feels like, well, what did I, well, I just made this whole thing and now you're okay. And it's like that energy wasted. While the initial person is still letting their wave right out, they probably are an emotional low coming to a point of neutrality, but because you reacted, now you're at a high point. And because you reacted to said emotions, made a decision based off those high and lows of emotions, those decisions impacted other people in the workplace. So this is why it's very important for people who have their solar plexus defined to let that emotional wave ride itself out, where it comes to a point of clarity, neutrality, and you can make a decision. Okay, it's very, very important. You see how these, like the scenarios that I'm giving you, you see how those high emotional points and those low emotional points, when you make a decision based on those very high highs and those low lows, things can turn chaotic. Okay? Now, another scenario. I have already given 2 scenarios based off emotional authority and reacting to those very highs and those very lows. Now I want to give a very personal scenario where I have been experimenting for years now with my emotional authority. Being a projector with emotional authority, you have to be invited to do something, and then obviously you have to make a decision with your authority. I'm gonna show you guys how my emotional authority, me waiting for that point of neutrality, me waiting for that point of clarity, saved me from taking on a huge responsibility, a huge management role that I turned down because at the end of my emotional wave, well, not really at the end of my emotional wave, but I had come to a point of neutrality where I rejected this proposal. So in the past, I've had experience in management roles, and I'm very good with numbers and like a little bit of accounting because I've had manager roles in the past before. And I was recognized for this experience. I was recognized because in this specific management role that I took on, I became the employee of the month, not the month, the employee of the year for this company because I led this specific store to be very high in sales that year. It actually became the 3rd highest grossing store in a very big city. So because of that, I was recognized for that. I was asked to manage another business. And at first I was excited because I love managing. It's part of the projector in me that just loves to guide other things. It's just something that I'm good at. It's something that's a skill that my projector self just knows how to do. And so I was given this opportunity. And like I said, I was very, very excited at first. I was at that emotional high. I was so excited to be able to take this on. But of course, when it was presented to me, I told them, okay, let me think about this because this is something that's very, very big. And it's going to, if I take this on, it's going to impact not just me, but my family. So I was given a long time actually to think this through. And you guys, this took me almost a month, 3 weeks for me to think this through. And in those 3 weeks, what I was doing is I was looking at the facts, looking at what are the requirements for this position, what do I have to do in this position. I was researching because my projector self is going to know what I'm going to get into. I need to know what I'm going to get into to see if it's a good fit for me. So I was researching, constantly researching. Okay, I see that they're doing this way, and I see why it's not working out for them, and I see why they need me. Okay, like I was getting into it, you guys. I was going deep into researching if I should take this on. And while I was researching and I was going through my emotional wave, because at first I was very excited. A few days later, almost a week later, I was like, based on the research that I had started to accumulate, I was like, wait, no, this is not good. Like, wait, I don't like this. This is not up to my specific standard. Hold on. Like, that was my emotional low. But then as I kept going, kept researching, I was waiting. I was honestly waiting. I was doing my other things. It's not like I'm just waiting and just researching that specific thing. Life keeps going. So I had other responsibilities to also do as a projector, and my emotional wave is still going high and low. So I was at a very low point. I'm like, no, I don't think so. But then a few days later, I'm like, wait, that's not so bad. I can see how they need, just letting itself write itself out. I know it takes a while. It took me a while, but listen, at the end of those 3 weeks, almost a month later, I came to a very neutral point. I gathered the facts, I gathered the evidence, whatever you want to call it, and I rejected the person's proposal to manage a business. Rejected it. I was like, I'm not doing this. Absolutely not doing this. And of course, the other person, well, they didn't exactly take it the best way. But I stood on my decision that I was not going to take on this responsibility. I was not going to take on this management role. Guess what? A few weeks later, almost a month later, after I rejected the proposal, I find out that what a good idea that I decided to reject this proposal, because the management role that they were proposing me was now null and void. Why? Because the company that was proposing me said proposal was bankrupt. So if I had accepted said proposal and I would have gone into this management position, that company would not have been able to pay me in the first place for my work, for my guidance. They would not have been able to, because they were bankrupt. So that is a clear example of how me writing out my emotional wave, coming to a point of neutrality, also listening to my intuition, saved me from taking on a role where I was gonna be doing work, I was gonna be doing the guidance, but I was not gonna get paid. So it's very important. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You need to come to a point of neutrality, of clarity, and make that decision. It's not going to be in the now when it's presented to you. And people have to honor that, honestly. And if people do not honor you wanting to take your time, then it's not for you. It's just not for you. But in this specific scenario, I was glad that, the hiring manager gave me time to think about before I made my final decision. So those are my scenarios on having emotional authority. As you can see, I think we can all relate to how our emotions sometimes make us react in certain ways. And if you're not self-aware of your own energy, you're just gonna let your emotions run rampant. Generators are gonna respond to it. Projectors or whatever may feel like the bitterness. They may not feel recognized. They're in that emotional low. Whatever it may be, you have to let your emotional wave ride itself out. So with that being said, if you have emotional authority and if you know somebody else who possibly has emotional authority, by all means, share this video with them. Also comment down your experience down below. I would love to hear your different scenarios as well. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.